9 strikeouts, 7 shutout innings, on the road, in Seattle, in a building where this team beat the Mariners in Game 7 of the Elks just months ago. That's the clip you just watched, and that right there tells you everything you need to know about where this rotation is heading. Welcome back to Blue Jays Hub. I'm Ajla Maestro, and folks, we have got a lot to talk about today. Before anything else, we are chasing that 3,000 subscriber milestone, and if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button right now. It genuinely means the world to this channel and to me personally. Let's get into it. I want to start with the bad news, because there's always bad news with this team, and unfortunately, Addison Barger is at the center of it again. According to Hazel May of Sportsnet, John Schneider gave a full round of injury updates, and the headline is that Barger is going to be rehabbing in Florida until the All-Star break. Let that sink in for a second. This man has appeared in 9 total games this season. 9. He suffered a left ankle sprain in early April, came back, played all of 1 game against the Angels, and immediately landed on the injured list with right elbow inflammation. Then, just as he was working his way back toward a rehab assignment, an MRI revealed a stress reaction in his lower back, according to Keegan Matheson of MLB.com. That's basically a small fracture, folks, and it forced the entire rehab clock back to 0. In my personal opinion, this is one of the most quietly devastating injury sagas of the entire season for this club. Remember, this guy was supposed to be a massive middle-of-the-order weapon this year after slashing well over 750 ops with 21 home runs and 74 RBIs last season, then absolutely torching the ball in the World Series run. That version of Addison Barger simply hasn't existed in 2026. He's hitting something like .045 in his limited at-bats, and now he's not walking back through that door until sometime around or after the All-Star break, if we're being optimistic. There is a silver lining here. Stress reactions in the back can heal relatively quickly with rest, and there's still a realistic path for him to be activated before the August 3rd trade deadline. But I want you to sit with how brutal this stretch has been. Ankle, elbow, back, this team has been remarkably deep and resilient. But losing a bat like this for this long is a real problem, especially with the offense scuffling the way it has been overall. Now here's where it connects to the bigger picture. This team desperately needs a right-handed bat that can mash lefties, and Barger's continued absence only amplifies that need. I've talked about names like Jo Adell and Taylor Ward in previous videos, and folks, that conversation just got even more urgent. If Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro are watching this Barger situation unfold, this should be lighting a fire under them to be aggressive buyers at the deadline, not passive ones. You cannot simply wait around and hope internal options solve this. In my personal opinion, that would be a massive mistake. Let's shift over to some more encouraging news, because Yusei Kikuchi is also down in Florida, starting his running and hitting progression, and I'd expect him back on a quicker timeline than Barger. Jesus Sanchez is in a similar boat, doing cage work. George Springer remains on paternity leave day to day, and I honestly wouldn't be shocked if he times his return for the Giants series that's coming up. These little pieces matter. This offense needs every single body it can get healthy right now, because even though Sanchez has had a rough overall season at the plate, depth options matter enormously in a stretch like this. Now let's talk about the man who is actually the best story in this entire organization right now on the mound, and that's Max Scherzer. Look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend his 2026 season at the big league level has been good, because it hasn't. It's been rough, to put it kindly. But according to Schneider, Scherzer felt good after his most recent rehab start in Vancouver. And his next 2 outings are going to come in Buffalo as he continues to build back up. He threw 3 innings, 49 pitches in that high A outing, 3 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. Not dominant by any stretch, but he got through it, and that's the entire goal right now. In my personal opinion, the real question with Scherzer isn't really about the box score from a rehab start in Vancouver, it's whether age has simply caught up to him at this point in his career. That's a fair debate, and I don't think there's a clean answer yet. But this team needs him as a stabilizing arm for that fifth rotation spot, even if it's just a bridge option. Because the alternative right now is bullpen games featuring Braden Fisher as an opener, Spencer Miles piecing things together, and Patrick Corbin trying to eat whatever innings he can. That's not sustainable heading into a stretch this important. And that brings me to the absolute best part of the update, because this rotation, when healthy, is starting to look genuinely scary. Kevin Gausman has been excellent recently. Dylan Cease has been excellent recently. Shane Bieber is working his way back into form. And then you have the performance we just watched in that opening clip. Cease went 7 shutout innings in Seattle, struck out 9, and now leads the entire American League with 141 strikeouts on the season. He's now pulled ahead of names like Christopher Sneechez for that AL strikeout crown conversation, and folks, in my personal opinion, this man is an all-star. Full stop, no debate. Having him anchor this rotation not just for this season, but for years to come, is going to be absolutely massive. Because when you actually look at the contract situations across this staff, Shane Bieber has 1 year left. Kevin Gausman has 1 year left. Jose Barros has a player option that he'll probably opt out of. The long-term rotation picture outside of Cease and whoever emerges next is genuinely uncertain. That's exactly why banking on unreliable, oft-injured arms like Ricky Tiedemann as a long-term plan isn't realistic right now. He simply can't be counted on given everything he's been through. Lua Varland closed out that win in Seattle with his 18th save of the season, and folks, that bullpen piece continues to be one of the most pleasant surprises of this entire year. When you pair a shutdown closer with a legitimate ace at the top of the rotation, you start to have the foundation of a real contender. Even in a season that has felt like an uphill battle from day one because of the injuries. Now let's talk about the schedule, because this could not be bigger. This West Coast trip just kicked off with that dominant win over the Mariners, and I want that to sink in, because Seattle is a genuinely good team, and the Jays just went into their building and shut them out in a rematch of last year's Elks. That's a massive statement. Up next, they continue that series before heading into a matchup against the Giants, who have been struggling, and then the Padres, who will be a tougher test. Win as many of these games as humanly possible before the All-Star break. And here's a juicy little wrinkle: Seattle is now dealing with their own adversity, because star center fielder Julio Rodriguez was placed on the 7-day concussion injured list after getting hit in the back of the helmet by an errant throw. That is a huge loss for their lineup, and if you're the Blue Jays, you have to take full advantage of that opening over the rest of this series. In my personal opinion, there is genuinely no excuse not to keep the momentum rolling here. And look, I know some of you are going to say this team is too banged up, too inconsistent, too far under 500 to really believe in right now. I understand that skepticism completely, but when you have a legitimate ace pitching like he's an all-star, a shutdown closer racking up saves, and a farm system deep enough to go get outside help at the deadline, this team is not out of anything yet. Every single win over these next 3 series before the break pushes this front office closer to being aggressive buyers instead of quiet bystanders. And folks, if there's ever been a year to go all in and trust the pitching staff carrying this team, in my personal opinion, this might be it. All right, that's everything for today. Comment down below and let me know. Are you buying what Dylan Cease is selling as a true ace for this franchise going forward? And how worried are you about the Addison Barger situation heading into the deadline? That's my question of the day for all of you. If you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button. It genuinely helps this channel more than you know, and if you're new here, please subscribe as we push toward that 3,000 subscriber milestone together. This has been Ajla Maestro, Blue Jays Hub. No filter, no fluff, just Jays. We out.